have medium-term rentals. This book is out. I actually have a new book coming out late this month or early February, which I will make a big announcement on when that happens. But if you just can't wait, American Nomads, Finding and Renting to Remote Workers is available on Amazon. It is in Kindle and paperback format. It has checklists in the back. It has interviews with tenants and landlords, and also just an overview of how to do a midterm rental. So the next book will be a little bit different, but this one is available now, and then a new one is coming in late January, early February 2023. Okay, so let's get into the 5 items that you would avoid in a midterm rental purchase. And some of these, again, are going to be relevant if you already own the property and you're thinking about going into a midterm rental. Some of them will only be relevant if you are thinking about buying. So the first one, for instance, is only relevant if you are thinking about buying, and it is do not buy a property that only has 1 bathroom. So it's not that this is necessarily a midterm rental issue. It is a resale and appreciation and use of property issue. The reason that I say this is because you have people that are going to come in as singles or couples, and I just know from the real estate side that a lot of properties end up getting resold or people end up moving out because of the frustration of sharing 1 bathroom. So just as a purchase decision in general, I say have 2 bathrooms, and I'm sure that is more appealing to renters as well. It doesn't have to be 2 showers, it has to be 2 toilets or more. That's where the issue is coming in. A similar recommendation, and this can be modified a little bit more easily than 1 bathroom, but also have an open kitchen. So have a kitchen that isn't enclosed. If you have a kitchen that's enclosed, it's easy enough to open it up. Most walls, even if they're retaining walls, you can take out most of them and leave the supports in and still be able to see into the living room. But again, I think that's the best practice because so many people spend time socializing in a kitchen that it's a really important feel for the property and for the house. The other issue is that if you're going to resell to a small family or a young family, those mothers and fathers are always going to want to be able to see the kids playing in the living room and stuff. So there's a big advantage to having an open kitchen. Okay, so that's number 1. Only buy two toilets or more. And just as a bonus tip on that, try to get an open kitchen. Big demand for that. Okay, number 2 tip, if you've watched any of these videos, you know how I feel about this, large yards. Do buy a property and it has a big yard, the time to rock it in and xeriscape it is now. The reason that I feel this way is because I just know I've owned a couple condos and done as rentals and owned a couple properties or houses with yards as rentals, and the condos are far, far, far easier to manage. And the yard is an issue, and it's been an issue for some of my other consulting clients too, where, you know, maintenance is expensive. Things are always growing, so you're always trying to get someone out there. The tenants aren't really taking care of the yard, and so it just becomes expensive. It becomes an eyesore. It is a bad first impression for the tenant to show up and have the yard not look good. And then as far as xeriscaping and rocking it in, my philosophy on this is that water is not going to get cheaper in the future. It is only going to get more expensive. So if you want to keep a yard, you know, you like the grass and you like that side of it, those costs are only going to increase. And so if you have tenants there, it doesn't really make sense. And I think the time is now to make your environmental changes because those things are only going to get worse in the future. Okay, so number 3, school district. The reason why I say this, and it's different state to state, but at least in Colorado, you can choice into a school district. So if you buy in a place with a less attractive school district, you can try and choice into a different district. If you live in that district, you get automatic placement there. The reason why I think a really popular school district or a really good school district is a negative for the investment is that most of the people that are coming are not coming with kids, or they're not going to be there permanently, so they don't care about the school district as much. Now, this also depends on the size of the property. So if you have a really large property, maybe they're going to care, but then a really large property also might be better for a long-term rental and not a midterm rental, because what kind of family needs a midterm rental? Not that many, in my opinion. So if you're going to go with not that many is my opinion. And the other thought too, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So this client that I had that was looking in Centennial, she's looking, and so it's like, okay, you have a big property, it's in the school district, but she also has the option to do short-term rentals on it. So I guess my philosophy is, when would those people actually need that property if they are concerned about the school district? My guess is they're going to want to do it in the spring, summer, and fall when they are making the move and trying to disrupt their kids the least. But if there's any spillover, those kids will stay in the same district. But the problem with that is that that's also the best time for short-term rentals. So some of you won't have that option, but if you do have that option, again, it kind of doesn't make sense because you're going to make more money on the short-term rental side with that property. So you're not going to want to be medium-term renting it in the summer anyways. And so you just need to think about who would need that big property and why. So I guess my philosophy here is that unless you have kids or you're really thinking it's super important for whatever reason on the resale, you don't want to pay for a school district because you're paying extra for that school district and your tenants aren't even using the school district. They don't care about it. Okay, number 4, large property. This kind of goes with that. I've had a couple of clients. I had someone come in Utah. They had a 6-bedroom, 3-bath. I had someone else come in with a couple of 5 bedrooms. And my question about this is who is going to use this? So again, maybe families are going to come in. Certainly Utah and Salt Lake City is an interesting case study because Mormons typically tend to have larger families, and so maybe they would need a larger property. But you know, people that have a lot of kids, I think at this point have a certain amount of wealth. They can afford to furnish a place. They have needed to have stability to have this big family, so they probably already have furniture. I mean, why does a big family need to come in and use your property? And so I have mixed feelings about this because maybe if you're the only large property that does medium-term rentals, you really attract people because you're a standout in the crowd. But I just continue to think that the majority of your tenant base is not going to need a large property. The only time you would get a large property or need a large property, and I'm talking like 5 bedrooms are up, 4 bedrooms and under is probably fine for the medium-term space. But the only time I would think that you would need a large property is if you're near a college campus. Then I think there's value to it. I think college kids will rent a large property. They want to live together. They don't want to have furniture. And so I think that use case scenario and that tenant base makes sense to me. But for like, you know, traveling nurses and stuff, I don't know. I mean, maybe they want to live with 5 of their friends, but for the most part, I think traveling nurses make a lot of money and they don't necessarily want to go back to having a ton of roommates. But again, it depends on the tenant. Some people, you know, it depends on your goals and their goals. Some people care more about saving money than they care about privacy. In general, I would say large properties don't necessarily work that well in the medium-term space. Number 5, final, and this kind of ties in with number 4, not knowing who would use the property. So I've had this again on a couple of consulting calls where I've had people that are located in the middle of nowhere, and it's not like they're in a town that has a heavy hospital presence or a heavy college presence, or that it's a place that has a great geographic quality like the ocean or the mountain. They don't have anything like that, so there's no reason really for someone to come in and stay for a month or 3 months and want a furnished rental. You know, potentially they have family or potentially they are younger in their life and they want to try and establish something. But I think if you're in that kind of area and you really cannot define who would want to come there and stay for a couple months, so in that kind of scenario, I think you are better served to do a long-term rental or to do a short-term rental. And I know with a short-term rental that doesn't necessarily make sense because the same issues are there. There's not necessarily like a huge travel demand to be there. There's not different industries supporting why you would be there, but people do have family a lot of times and they come to visit them, but they only need a 3 or 4 day stay. To me, that's more feasible than someone into a geography that has no reason to really be there and then wanting to stay for 30 plus days. That said, if you want to try it and you are in a community like that and you're just curious about midterm rentals and you want to see or the laws have changed for a short-term rental and you're really not close to anything, then my advice to you on that is to really lean into whatever your property is. And what you should be trying to lean into there is kind of a place that's a respite. You know, this is the do nothing cabin. This is the place where you come and relax. You know, we have a soaking tub, we have a large TV, we have good Wi-Fi. Kind of try and portray an image of For this property, there are no headaches. It's nothing fancy. You pay for what you get, but it is a headache-free place. That's the best use case scenario that I can think of. And then again, finally, for medium-term rentals, you're not necessarily looking for a theme. Short-term rentals, I know themes are really popular right now. In the midterm rental space, themes are not as much popular. The theme is more living the life of a local genuinely without a theme. So I hope that helped. Again, if you're looking for a book on medium-term rentals, I have one, American Nomads, Erin Spradlin, Amazon, Kindle, or paperback. If you want a copy of the lease, I am asking people to either schedule consulting with me or to prove that they've purchased the book, and then I will send out the lease. And if you're looking to go the cheap route, you go on Amazon and order the lease through Kindle, and it's $9.99. Well, order the book through Kindle for $9.99, and then I'll issue the lease to you. It doesn't have to be the paperback version. So that's the cheapest way to get the lease if you want it. All right, I hope that helped. I hope you're having a good day, and I will have another video out soon. Thanks.